Welcome guys, today we're doing a watercolor painting of an eye, and I'm going to basically just jot down the exercise as we did it. I did this, of course, I am using some blue and also some pink opera, and I went around the eye. This is a very lightish skin tone, and I went around the eye. I also added some yellow, some burnt umber, some sepia. I'm already marking and jotting down the eyeshadow or the shadow of the eye, casting some of the lines here and there, and just prepping my eye to have the shadows that I can basically just say, yeah, this is an eye and where is it located and all that stuff. So once I have everything done, I just apply the first layers of watercolors, and then from there I added a little bit more. I also added a hint of green. I was doing this from a picture from Pixabay, and you can type in eye and it will give you several examples. This one is looking up, and I thought it was a really cool way of portraying an eye. And lately I just been fascinated by doing this, and I think these are very easy to make and also fun to do artworks. So these are basically, this is like a 3x4 in size, and as you can tell it's pretty small, but I really enjoy doing it, and I think that you can learn a lot from doing something simple. So to cast the shadow of the eye, I used a hint of blue, and I have other several colors with me. So I'm using all of those colors, and I'm just basically just putting it down under the lid, under the upper lid of the eye. I want to take a good look at the underlid, I guess it's called, from the eye, because it does cast a shadow, and that's actually what's going to give a more realistic look to your eye. There's also like the different like lines in there that you see from like the opening of the eye and where the eye shadow is casting. So all those things, the more details, the more lineish, and the more you take in consideration all those things, the easier and the more realistic it will look. Now, however, my eye picture had like a different thing in there, and I guess because of the camera, that's why I had like this little lens in it. And instead of doing the lens, I just did like if just it's actually a light from a window or a perhaps a door, instead of doing the light from the actual camera lens. I didn't feel that it was okay to put it down in the painting, because I think that it was a little bit too much. So I omitted that and just added like a simple light. As you can see here, I'm actually applying some greenish, and I'm also adding more layers of sepia. That's the brownish color that I'm using, and I'm also going around in different layers. And I added as well some light or lemon yellow, or whatever you have, bright yellow. I added it to the brownish color because an eye has different colors and different ways that you can play with it, and different people have different sets of different colors in their eyes, and I thought it was a really cool idea of incorporating different colors into it. So once I had the light coming from the eye, I went around again a second time, and I added a little bit more pigment or a little bit more paint. And I also closed down the eye by doing in a form of precise. The eye is like an oval shape way of, it's an oval shape, but it was a little bit difficult for me to kind of just jot down all the colors that I saw on that tiny picture. I would rather and prefer to do it a little bit bigger next time. I also cast a shadow on the bottom part of that same iris. You see me working in there. I added and casted a shadow under that side of the eye. I'm going now to do the eyebrows, and I'm using a number 1. I got the chance to get some new brushes, so I'm using brush called Unison. Actually, I have them right here, and since I'm not actually painting this time, I'm voicing over. Let me see if I can get the actual brush that I use. Is called Onson, Onson, and I'm using a number 5, and I use a number 1. And you see me here. What I did with the eyebrow, the actual picture has them a little bit overblocked. Aren't we all overblocked, right? So what I did is that I added a little bit more hair, a little bit more shadow on the eyebrow. And the really cool thing about eyebrows is that, well, like with everything else, you go with shape and shadow. So I really didn't worry much about giving too much detail. This is also a watercolor, and I really didn't want it to do too much detail either. I just wanted to paint and to practice something and to do something with the actual medium, since I haven't been painting in a while, and I thought this was a really cool way of kind of just distract myself from the everyday deals of the day with job, etc., etc. So basically just winding here and doing my eye as much and as precise as I can. I really love this part here because even though I did went a little bit too far with the bottom part, I was able to cast or to leave the white side of the paper on top of the eye or the iris. As you see here, I left that part. So I go in again and I added a hint of green, and then again I'm trying to just scrub away part of it. And you see me here I'm scrubbing and I'm softening out some of the edges because the paper that I'm using is a 98 pound. This one is from Canson Mixed Media. It doesn't allow you to go over with a lot of washes, so I work in a very thin way, better say. So you'll have to, if I don't know what type of paper you're using, but with Canson specifically, you have to, with this one, because it's a 98 pound, I'm working with really light washes, and I'm also adding really light weight, like my strokes are very light. One thing that I did learn over me doing, different eyes and stuff like that is that everything has a shadow, of course, and that's something that is obvious with every painting. But with with this eye specifically with watercolor, what I did is that I add a hint of like a bluish tone, and I kind of just map out where I'm going to put the eyelashes. And what I did is that afterwards I add a bit of darker paint, and it looks like it's actually the eyeshadow or the shadow from the eyelashes, and it actually works pretty well. So I don't know if you ever done eyes before. It's a really good cool tip, because that was one of the most difficult parts, I think, is to actually do the eyelashes and not really messed up with the details. So as you see me here, I'm basically, like I said, is softening up some of the edges and some of the watercolor. Rubbing out some of the paint and just squeezing it and putting it somewhere else. It just helps the watercolor to be a little bit less tacky and little more softer than actual when you first apply the first layer, and it doesn't look as harsh as if you leave it without softening out or scrubbing a little bit. So some of the details are also done with the brush, and I also scrub to give a little bit of light and a little bit more contouring that area there of the lid. I think is really cool to lift up with the actual brush, and that's why I think I love so much watercolors. So now I'm going in with a number one. This is from Onson, like I mentioned, and I'm going in and I'm adding the darker eyelashes. And of course, since we already have kind of like a sort of map out of the eyelashes themselves, it's easier to apply paint on top and you don't be worried about making any mistakes, even though it is not an easy thing because it's actual detail. And so what I did, like I said, is that I applied the bluish tone and then afterwards I go in with the darker tone. And these tones make basically like a matte type of color. I'm adding some sepia, some black, some green, some every single color that you can expect that is darker. And I make this really muddy black color, which is actually really cool. And you can do that with your watercolors in general because it's like it will be like the darkest dark, but at the same time, because it has so many layers or undertones of different colors, it actually looks really cool in watercolors. I went in and I kind of cross hatched the eyebrows because I wanted a little bit more detail, even though I actually softened them out. And I also did the same thing with the eyelashes. In the picture, they're actually touching each other, and I thought that was also a little bit tacky. So I kind of just separated them. Try not to look much at the picture because sometimes you get lost in the details. So I try my best to just do what I think and I felt like it was the good way or the right way to do this type of painting. At this very moment, the actual artwork is basically almost done. What I did is that I apply more shadow into the crease or basically just the top part, the top lid of the eye, and I did it. I also softened out some of the eyelashes, and we're basically done. So for the last details, I also, like I said, I am adding some white, and you can use gouache if you like. You can use color pencils like I did. I'm using white from Prismacolor, It's a pretty cool way of adding your highlights in watercolors, and I think it looks really, really nice. I'm glad that the paper actually shows the highlights. Sometimes using colored pencil does not show. So you have to look for what is best for you. I think that gouache in this case also will have done the trick, but gouache tends to be a little bit more high pigmentation, highly pigmented, I'm thinking. And so depending on the type of paper, for this paper, because it's a little softer and it actually works well, like I said, mixed media paper, 98 pound, actually really works well with the color pencil. So what I did is that after I softened out some of the parts, I went in with the pencil and I added my highlights at the end of the work with the color pencil. So if you like color pencils, I think this is a great exercise for anybody that would like to kind of just mix and match both of the mediums. I think it's pretty cool. I really love the way it looks more realistic as well, and you can definitely correct your mistakes in watercolors with color pencils. Like you can see me here, like some of the shape of the eye wasn't as round as I wanted to, so I went in with a colored pencil. I also, the highlight that I left right in the middle of the eye, I went in with a colored pencil and I actually added some colored pencil. Like I really didn't want it to just leave everything white, and I kind of just unify everything by scrubbing like you saw, and we're almost done. So I really wanted to leave my painting just like is, but I thought that adding a little bit more color it will at least look more realistic. So I went in with also colored pencils and I added a hint of an orange tone. And I added because the actual picture has it. It's just my preference. You really don't have to do this. I went in with the orange color and I'm doing it very lightish, very light. I'm also reapplying a little bit of the black color around the eye, and I'm also using this to give me a really nice shadow. I also added some of the eyelashes with the black color pencil, and I did some of the lights, or the lines better say, with the color pencil. Overall, I want to thank you in advance for your time, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this demo. Thank you again and have a good day.